We're live. Chase, Cincinnati, BYU preview today. If you didn't listen to our Colorado recap, great episode, go check it out. Our Jonathan Tavernari interviews, a lot of good stuff in there. Go check that out as well. We'll have some interviews coming up here soon as well. But Chase, Cincinnati, BYU preview today. The game is in Provo. How are we feeling right now? State of affairs. After Tuesday, I think the morale's a little bit up. We don't have this midweek loss like there was last week. I think morale's on the up and up right now.
Yeah, it always feels better after a win, pretty much no matter what. Just getting back on the right track for BYU after dropping 4 out of 5 is huge. And the biggest thing is how they won that game, how dominant they looked in that second half. Really gives you confidence here heading into this spot. Now, you can't have too much confidence because they haven't shown us everything, but you can have enough. I mean, the vibes are back up for BYU. I think this week's been good for them. See a win, have a nice long break until the weekend, be back in Provo, right? Sleeping in their own beds, practicing in their own gym. I think they feel good. I think fans feel good. I think we feel good. I think it's obvious it's an uphill climb from here. There's a lot to be done. They took a small first step. This would be a bigger first step, and I think they recognize the importance of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a chance between two teams that have kind of underperformed based on expectations this year coming in.
Not kind of. Both these teams disappointing.
Definitely
so
Cincinnati. I was saying kind of BYU, but yeah, let's be honest. They definitely have underperformed coming into this year based on expectations. And this is a huge game for both of these teams. Chase, remember last year, this game was in the Marriott Center. BYU kind of had this game taken care of and everything was looking good. Trevenell was red hot from 3, and then somehow, someway, BYU ended up choking that game away, and we had a very funny response from Mark Pope in the press conference in that one. I don't know if this is a game if hopefully Trevenell remembers his defense and he can light it up from 3 again.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was his game. That was the only time they played Cincinnati last season. And he was, I can't even remember the number, how many he made.
I think he hit 7 threes.
I think it was
but
7.
But then he got taken out for
benched.
12 minutes.
Yep. And we still don't know why. And BYU ended up losing that by double digits, actually. I think everything kind of fell apart for the Cougars.
But coming into this game a little bit, the NCAA tournament stuff, like I talked about on Tuesday, I'm not looking that far ahead quite yet. If they can win this game Saturday, now the momentum and the trajectory is pointing towards, okay, maybe this team can sneak into the tournament. Maybe they can make their way in. You got a schedule coming up that if you can knock off some wins, it's okay to go 500 in your schedule coming up, but you got to knock off some of these big dogs coming up, and it starts with Cincinnati because, 1, they're another bubble team, and 2, they're a team that's hungry, looking for it to turn around, and Wes Miller and Cincinnati, like I said, has underperformed this year, so they're coming in hungry in this game as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they were preseason ranked and coming off of an amazing end to last season and bringing back all these guys with a great young coach. They had a lot to look forward to, and they're in a tough spot right now. But much like, honestly, a lot of these teams, I'd say at least 3/4 of the teams of the Big 12, you're still alive. There's some teams up at the top that are locks or feeling good. The rest are still fighting for that position. And Cincinnati's by no means out of the tournament watch, but much like BYU, they got to figure some things out, and they got to get it together. I think for Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken, this is a quad 1 game.
Yes, it is.
That they get to play because they're on the road, and you get to play a BYU team that's, for lack of a better term, and to not sugarcoat it, susceptible. They have flaws, they have weaknesses, and they've been exposed here in the last month or so of conference play. So if you're Cincinnati, you're looking for a huge bounce back here, quad 1, get a win on the road in a gym that you did it last season, right? They need to get their season back on track.
Yeah, and BYU's upcoming games, Saturday's quad 2 since it's a home game against Cincinnati. Then they have a quad 1 chance at home against a struggling and injured Baylor team that's going to be a huge, huge chance to knock off a tournament resume building win at home in the Marriott Center. And then they go at UCF. This is a good little stretch for them right here. Then it gets a lot tougher right after that. But this game Saturday, we'll just get right into it right now. This is going to be an ugly game on Saturday, Chase. Watching the film, I've watched a lot of Cincinnati basketball this year. Big fan of Wes Miller. I think he's a great coach. It just really hasn't come together quite yet this year for them. It's muck it up basketball. Cincinnati, BYU, I think they're going to watch that second half and realize, okay, hey, we need to push the tempo a little bit. And Cincinnati's going to want to do the opposite. They are a very, very slow, grinded out, gross game. If this game's played in the 50s, Cincinnati's okay with that. That is just fine for them. The other thing is, neither of these teams can hit free throws to save their life either. So I don't know what the total number is for the points in this game. I would lean under whatever it is in this game, Chase. But this is going to get ugly, rock fight, kind of some grit and grind basketball.
Absolutely ugly. Cincinnati second in the conference in defense, total defense, behind, of course, Houston. And we saw how that worked for BYU. Now, Houston's like 10 points ahead. They're obviously crazy. But Cincinnati's up there. That's what you said. That's the style they like to play. And both these teams aren't exactly hot from beyond the arc. Cincinnati, the second worst three-point shooting team in the conference, and both can't hit free throws. BYU's only had really one good conference game where they can say we shot really well, and that was just this past Tuesday against Colorado. So
Arizona State, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the very first game of conference play. So this is definitely going to be a who has the mental toughness to overcome this slow start. I'm sure it's going to be hunker down defense, big on rebounding. There's probably still going to be a lot of fouls, but you can't trust either of these teams at the free throw line. Cincinnati is even worse percentage-wise as a team than BYU, and we know how that goes when we have one of the Cougs trot up to the charity stripe. So, going to be a grind. It's going to be the kind of game I would say BYU doesn't like. I think if anything we've seen from Tuesday, they like to be out and running, and that's where they thrive. And so BYU's going to have to find a way to respond, create the offense, and of course respond with the physicality on the defensive end.
Yeah, people won't want to hear this, but I think this is going to be kind of similar to that Utah game, where the Utah game wasn't really pretty basketball. It was, okay, who wants it more? Is experience going to win out here? And this game's going to come down to who's tougher? Who's the tougher team in this one, Chase? And you would lean towards Cincinnati maybe, but maybe BYU steps up and shows, hey, we're not going to be pushed around in this spot. We're going to dictate tempo in this game. We're going to make Cincinnati play our style of basketball and our tempo. And if BYU can do that, then they can win this game. This is a winnable game. Cincinnati's not some worldly team or whatever. I mean, they've lost quite a few conference games already. And you look at some of these numbers, Chase. I know it's boring to read stats on podcasts, but we're going to do it for the sake of this. Cincinnati, points per game, 246 in the country. Pace, 316. BYU, 236. This is going to be a slow game unless BYU tries to change things up. 3-point percentage. BYU is 19th in 3-point field goals made per game. Sorry, apologize about that. Cincinnati, 208th in 3 points made per game. And you keep going down the line. They're 339th in the country in free throw percentage. BYU 286. These are areas you don't want to be in if you're either team. The other two things that go Cincinnati's way here is turnovers. Cincinnati does not turn over the ball very much, and BYU is prone to turn over the ball. And the other thing is Cincinnati is dynamite at perimeter defense. They don't give up a lot of three-pointers. You have to beat them inside, get them in foul trouble. And BYU, you cannot settle in this game. Continue to attack the paint, high tempo, get Cincinnati out of their style. I think that's the key to this game, is just dictating the tempo of this game, because I don't want to see slow, methodical, gross ISO half-court basketball.
Yeah, and it's going to be those little things. It's keeping them off of the offensive boards. It's making smart passes and not turning the ball over. It's being strong with your hands, not getting poked, things like that. That's going to help BYU in this situation, and it's going to be ugly. I know we said that, but it can't be understated how big of a game this is for Cincinnati. They're going to be hungry dogs. They're going to literally be underdogs. They're not going to be favored in this game. Isn't it crazy BYU's favored in every single conference game except for Houston?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but Cincinnati's going to have that mentality. They need this win as bad as BYU does, maybe even more so, to be completely honest with you. BYU is going to have to respond. Did Tuesday give them the confidence and the morale boost and we just finally saw it happen kind of feeling that they needed to overcome it? And will they come with this energy and this poise that we haven't seen really all season? Who knows? I'm leaning yes, because they get a B in Provo. They get to have their home crowd behind them. But it's gonna be a lot of will against will here. At the end of the day, who wants to win it more?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key to this game, is just who's going to want it more, who's hungrier. We'll keep talking about this game, but let's take a quick break. Continuing talking about this Cincinnati game real quick, Chase, you look at the talent on the Cincinnati team. They have talent on this roster. It hasn't fit together for some reason this season. And they also have elite rim protection. They have a couple guys who can light it up with Lukosius, and Dan Skillings is a solid player. Like, these are guys that you look at them on paper, and there is a reason this team was picked to finish 5th in the Big 12 this year, and they were a preseason ranked team coming in. And this is a scary spot for both teams, because it's not quite a loser leaves town game, Chase, but it feels like it.
It really does. And it's funny how similar these teams actually are. You have preseason expectations from both teams. You have all the talent there that you could want in Cincinnati and BYU. It just hasn't come together. Cincinnati's got to be even more frustrating, though, because you saw it come together at the end of last season, right? Mm-hmm. And you everyone expected, that's why they were picked preseason to finish 5th in the Big 12. It just hasn't happened for them. At BYU, we feel the same way, right? There's been glimpses of it. There's been times where we think it's all come together, but in the biggest moments, it hasn't. So BYU can't overlook Cincinnati and the Bearcats. They're going to have to, still, we talk about Cincinnati's slow. They like to muck it up. They still have cats that can shoot.
Yeah.
We watched the Big 12 tournament. We watched the best game of that entire tournament, Karter, was Tuesday. And Cincinnati, I think it was like the 12 versus the 13 seed. Cincinnati played West Virginia, and Cincinnati was down, I'm going to say 13 points with 8 minutes left. Came back and won that, and it was off of the backs of huge 3-point shots, right? And insane defense. So BYU's got to be able to still run these guys off the line. I think BYU has an advantage inside with Kaba and Foose. And if Cincinnati wants to slow it down, then the Foose post-ups are going to be there. We didn't see that a lot on Tuesday because I think it was a different style of play. We'll probably see more Foose post-ups on Saturday. And a lot of pick and roll, of course, with Yegor and Kaba at the top of the key. We really need to see BYU figure it out offensively. We did see it against the Colorado team who, let's be honest, is not good. Cincinnati's different. Again, second best defense in the conference statistically. So you got to find your rhythm because you still have to put up points. I know, even if this game's in the 50s, you got to find a way to, this is the dumbest thing I've ever said, but outscore Cincinnati because that's how you win freaking basketball games, believe it or not. But that's going to be huge for BYU. Can you find a rhythm? Can you find a way to get buckets? They're going to be tough. Going to be a lot of Richie Saunders in the lane, Foose post-ups, floaters from Trevin Nell and things like that. BYU's going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, and they're also going to need to get a guy like Aziz Bandaogo out of foul trouble or into foul trouble because he's an elite rim protector, one of the best in college basketball. If you can get him into foul trouble and they have to go a little bit smaller in Cincinnati, that opens up the game a lot more for a guy like Foose to come in and have success and the lob threat of Kada. But that can kind of get negated when Aziz is in this game. Shout out UVU legend Aziz Bandaogo. I think he might be undefeated in the Marriott Center, Chase.
He won that one. That was a long time ago.
And he was also on the Cincinnati team last year too.
That's right. Dang.
I'll get stats department on it, but I'm pretty sure he's undefeated against BYU. And yeah, there's not too much to break down here besides that it's going to be a tougher game. It's going to come down to a few things. Who can hit their shots, Chase? Very vanilla, basic analysis. It's not an overthink it and make your free throws. This game's going to come down to free throws. It really is at the end of the day. And it's not saying guys like Kaba need to hit. No, it's the sharpshooters. It's the guys like Trevin Nell, Cannon Catchings, Yegor Dem. These guys need to start hitting their free throws because that the free throw shooting alone, BYU has 3 more wins, if that is at an average percentage.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is also a game where they can get to the line a lot. Talking about the perimeter defense, Jaguar is going to be going up against these point guards where he's going to have an advantage with his size and his ability to see the floor. And so off that pick and roll, to go into the basket, I think Jaguar's figured some things out, getting to the paint more and getting those looks and getting fouls. The problem is he just has been awful on the free throw line. Like, he's been terrible. And I know it's not up to his standards, so I don't feel bad saying that. I think he'd say the same thing. And pretty much everyone has. So you're right. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. Who do you see as MVP of this game, Karter?
You go first.
Okay.
Because I have 2 I'm deciding between. I want to see if you pick it.
Okay. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I think MVP of this game is going to be Marriott Center crowd. I think it's a Saturday night.
Oh, you did cheat.
I think it's a big game, right? I think coming off of a win, fans are going to, like, the energy's going to be back a little bit of optimism back in the building. Should be, if not, then close to a sellout. I think it's going to be massive. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be huge. And in an ugly game, Karter, that we think is going to be 50s, 60s, the crowd can make a big difference. They add a few points there. They bring that energy. And you just know, right, when BYU hits a big three, that the Marriott Center pops. And I think they really lift these guys up. Plus, they haven't been home in a little bit, BYU. They haven't felt that energy from that crowd in almost 2 weeks. So I think it's huge for them.
I think that's a great answer, too, because you talk about this game, looking back, last season, Chase, we talked about this, I think in the preview when we were going through the schedule a little bit this season, where BYU doesn't play a lot of home Saturday games. And last season, I would argue the best environment at the Marriott Center last year was the Texas game. Texas BYU on a Saturday. And I think it helps that that game was at like noon Mountain Time or like 2 p.m. Mountain Time. This is still a late tip-off, but these Saturday home games are a huge advantage at the Marriott Center because it is a much more amped-up crowd. Tuesday night, 7, 8, 9 p.m. tip-offs are a little tougher to, be amped up for, get a rowdier crowd out to. Saturday night, I think it's going to be rocking in the Marriott Center. At least I hope it is. And I think you're right. That's going to play a huge advantage here. And that's another reason why BYU is probably going to be a 5-6 point favorite in this game as well. Vegas knows that.
Vegas does know it. It's a real force. And every coach that comes in after for the press conference, every single time in their opening statement, they say, great environment. Like,
yep,
playing here was great. Win or lose. They have some nice things to say about the Marriott Center. If you remember last year, the game BYU lost in Cincinnati, it was a Tuesday. I'm not saying that's the reason they lost, obviously, but there's a difference. There's a difference. I know some people have disagreed with us on that, but if you go Saturday, you'll feel it. It's a wild environment, and it's a Cincinnati team who's struggling.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that's just like, people are, students are stressed out with classes and whatnot, because I almost feel the opposite. I think Saturday night when we were in school, Chase, that's the most stressful time because I procrastinated my homework to do at 11:58 p.m. on Saturday night. So the whole game, I'm thinking, crap, I'm going to have like an hour to do this homework.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not worse than Sunday night, but yeah, Saturday night's bad.
Did you ever have homework due Sunday night?
I mean, not like due, but like I definitely have put homework off until Sunday night. The Sunday scaries. You don't get the Sunday scaries, Karter?
I get Sunday scaries, but more so it's I always had homework due during my time at BYU on Saturday night at 11:59, and
because they didn't want to do Sunday. Yeah,
and so the whole time I'm just I every week I start the week and I go I'm gonna do the homework. I'll get it done like Monday, maybe Tuesday, and I'll be done for the week. Saturday comes, like I have a 5-page paper due in 2 hours. Let's get rolling. Let's pop open a Dr. Pepper or a Monster and let's roll. So, yeah.
We graduated, Karter. We did it. We got those.
Somehow, some way.
Coveted degrees.
Yeah. God is real, huh?
All right. I'm ready to hear your MVP. Yeah, you had enough time to think and to deliberate?
MVP in this game is going to be, I'm not picking Jaguar Demon again. I pick him every time. But I'm picking Jaguar Demon again. I'm picking Jaguar in this game. I think he's the MVP here because I really think, at least I hope that the beginning of that second half against Colorado is can get moved, and that can just be the BYU season going forward, and play that style. Because if BYU plays that style, and look, it's easy because the shots are falling early, and guys are a little more motivated and whatnot. But even without that, if they play at that pace, that speed, and put the defense on their toes like that, Jaeger is able to find all of these wide open dudes to hit open shots. Shots become a lot more easier. More people touch the ball. People are more in rhythm. There's a flow to things, and everybody's confidence is up. And I think this all comes down to Jaeger dictating the tempo in this game, because Cincinnati has a clear path of what they want to do, and BYU does not want to fall into that trap, and it's up to him to make sure that doesn't happen.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it's also up to those shooters, right, who are going to be open in the quarter. Can Trevenell stay hot? Can Richie Saunders stay hot? Dawson Baker, Mawit Mag. These guys are going to need to knock them down.
Someone in this game is going to, because it's probably going to be a low-scoring game, like we said. One of these guys has to hit 3-4 threes in this game, whether it's Nell, Mag, Baker, whoever it may be, Richie. One of these dudes has to get hot from beyond the arc to at least just spread out the floor a little bit and everything. But yeah, no, I think Jaegor's going to be more my player to watch for. If BYU succeeds, I think it's because of how well he dictated the offense. And yeah, no, I think that's it. Maybe the MVP go outside the box here. Maybe we get some good refs. Maybe we maybe a Marriott Center. BYU gets a free throw advantage. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's part of the home. Get some home cooking. Has there ever been home cooking at BYU?
Yeah, I don't remember the last time there's been real home cooking.
Bias. Sure, it probably goes back to last season when they could actually make free throws. Problem is, would home cooking even help BYU? We don't know at this point.
Who knows? Yeah, exactly. Do you want that many free throws at this point? Also, last season, they just shot so many threes. When were they ever getting fouled? It was like Trevenell pump fake and then kick your leg out and get the call. That was your free throw shooting last year.
That's true. That's true.
I felt like so many times last season, BYU, it would be it's closer to the end of the game, kind of a closer game. BYU's committed 10-plus fouls. The other team's been in the double bonus for about 10 minutes, and the other team has committed 3 fouls.
Yep. Not like this team, though. They get their money's worth when they foul. They keep it pretty. No one's even fouled out yet, though. I think they're good. I don't know if they do this on purpose, but they disperse the fouls. Everyone has 2. Everyone has 2 to 3, and no one's in real foul trouble.
I think it's just because they get their money. Play a ton of guys.
It's true. The rotations are early and often.
And last season, we haven't really seen Dallin Hall get many cheap fouls this year to put himself in a tough situation like he did last season. But maybe that's because they have a lot of players, or just different coaching. I don't know.
New point guard too. Jaeger takes the
he hasn't
bulk
played
of
as
those
many minutes.
reps. Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Score prediction. I'm going to go ahead and go with BYU wins 65-60. It is a low-scoring affair. It's a grinded-out game. The crowd puts them over the edge. BYU makes some big defensive stops in the end, wins it.
I think BYU wins 69-65 in this one. I think what was that eyebrow? Everyone listening on Spotify and Apple right now, we got to call that out. What was that eyebrow raised for?
You guess. You say 69 for one of the scores. Every score prediction.
We might have to get a fact checker on that, but there is a likely chance he's right. I love it. All right, well, that's my score prediction. Make sure to subscribe at ChurchballPod on everything, at Chase_Roger0, at CarterBA, at ChurchballPod on everything. Like and subscribe. Field of 68 Podcast Network, Field of 68 After Dark. Check all that out, all that good stuff. We'll be back. We might be doing something a little different on Saturday. Chase, you won't be at the game, so it might be time to do a Twitter space. We'll gauge some interest. See, we might be doing a Twitter space, a little solo Twitter space. Come on, let's chat. And also, if you see me at the game, come up. We got some of these bad boys. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, some nice little church ball stickers. Come see me at the game. I'll be in the media seats or whatever up in the upper bowl area. Come by.